different types. One of them is the median Akinakis, as you see here, and one of them is the Persian Akinakis. I will come back and explain to you. This median Akinakis, you see, it is hanging from a loop here, and it has a handle. Okay, this is the scabbard here. We can easily say this is a weapon which was made by, look at him. He's wearing pants. He's wearing trousers, pants, as you see here in the US. And here it's hanging on the right side. This is a cavalryman. If you have an Akinakis here and you are riding a horse, you can try it yourself if you're a horse rider. And you need this weapon as well, and you can make a replica of it. And if you ride, and you can push here the weapon, and when you ride your horse, and you push it, and then you see the scabbard comes up, and then it slides into your hand easily. So you don't need to use your left hand at all when you ride a horse, because you have to rein the horse, and it comes easily into your hand. On the other hand, look at this, please. This is for infantry. It is tucked into the belt here in the middle. You can just throw the sword like that. These are these two. This is this famous golden Akinakis. There are only two pieces in the world which up to now have been recovered. One of them is in the National Museum of Iran in Tehran, and the other one is in Metropolitan Museum of Art. But I saw both of them, and let me tell you one thing. When you have this thing in your hand, it is such an experience. I cannot explain it to you. Maybe because I'm an Iranian and this is a symbol of Achaemenian period. When you have it in your hand, I'm not at all superstitious or something like that. I shouldn't be actually. But when you have this in your hand, it has such a transformation of energy. You cannot believe. My hands were shaking when I had it in my hand. You cannot imagine. There are only two of them. The sword in the Metropolitan Museum of Art looks a bit different from that. This is by far nicer. And unfortunately, the sword in the Metropolitan Museum of Art is broken. The blade is broken in two pieces because it was discovered by a farmer in Iran who was just farming, and then something got into his farming tool and it broke the golden Achaemenian sword. But then you can ask yourself, what is this sword doing in Metropolitan Museum of Art? But well, it was sold probably, and then it is there. So there are only two swords, two golden swords from that period, and one of them is here. Regarding weights, we cannot be. Back then they didn't have our measurements from today, but this is more or less approximately 800 grams. This is pure gold, pure, and symbolic weapon. As I mentioned that. It is also said, Herodotus says, when Xerxes Shah invaded Greece, he came to the ocean, said to his navy that we are going to invade the Greece, and then he drank wine, threw the rest into the ocean, and then he had a golden Akinakis and he threw it as well into the ocean. Back then it is reported. And these golden Akinakis were a symbol of power and were only given to the real high-ranking people in the Achaemenian army. We have only, unfortunately, up to now, only two, as far as we know. You never know what you can find in private collections, from my own experience. But as far as I'm informed, I also know about lots of private collections in the US or in Europe or in Russia. But as far as I know, I only know of these two. You see the head? The head on both sides. You see there is a lion, the symbol of lion. You see the features. How delicate they are. Look at this. These are two ram heads. You see that in my book also the symbol. If you see the lion fighting the bull, you see in Persepolis in Takht Jamshid, you see also this symbol. You see the symbols are always there. Do you know what the symbol means? Anyone knows this symbol? Why the bull is fighting why the lion is attacking the bull? One chapter of my book deals with only these symbolic weapons. This is the chapter 22. If Persepolis, Takht Jamshid, there are two different theories of that. One of them, it says that the bull is the symbol of Mehr, of Mah, of moon, the moon. And the lion is the symbol of the sun. So basically, if you take a look at the fighting scene in Takht Jamshid and Persepolis, you see that the bull is jumping, the lion is jumping on the bull, but is not killing it, but is trying to force it down. That means that the new year is coming. The winter, which is the bull for the moon, has to go, and the lion, the sun, the summer is coming. Back then they distinguished between two different seasons. One of them was summer and one of them was winter. There is also from the Shahnameh, from the Persian poets, also another symbol, another interpretation, which they say the Shahanshah, the king of kings, as the Achaemenian dynasty was all about. The Shahanshah, the king of kings, has different kings. And he wants to say, I am the lion, and you are the bulls. Although you are very strong, you are the bull, I'm stronger as you are. So be careful. Never try to make a revolt against me. That's as a warning sign. But again, there are two different interpretations, and I go into detail in my book about that. Because you find it, you will be very surprised. The fighting scene between the lion and the bull, you do not find it only during the Achaemenian period. You find it in the Qajar period as well. So for those of people who do not believe that these symbols have survived for centuries, this is what you can find in many Qajar pieces of arms and on. This piece is a median echinacus. You see, there are some. They try. The scabbard is wood from Achaemenian period, so it is disintegrating. So they're trying, the specialists from the National Museum of Iran were trying to keep them together. So they're using some special material, like a glue or something like that. But you see, this is gold again. You see, this is pure gold. This is the bottom of the scabbard. Up there. And this is a median echinacus. You see there is a loop here. Remember the median echinacus? Look at this, please. You see the loop? Look at the feature of the end of the scabbard and look at this, please. See that? This is exactly that one. This piece was confiscated when they were trying to get it out of Iran, some smugglers. So it was confiscated, fortunately, and they did not let them take this piece out of Iran. Now we come to just a jump. Any questions about Achaemenian period? I only put some swords. Yes, please.
That shapes of lion and bull, are they carved on gold or are they molds?
This one. They first are molds, and then at the end they use also carving, and they use it as well at the end to just give it a better shape. But it's basically mold and the lost wax process. We tried, two engineers who are on our team, because we not only analyzed that, but we tried to revive this. We tried to make this sword, actually, a couple of times, tried to cast it, tried to do our best. And people who are there now, I have a friend who didn't get sleep, he wanted to just say, I'm going to make this sword. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it so delicate, because the problem is always casting. We don't know exactly how they use the casting to use these things. This is specifically very difficult. Yes, please.
Yes, I'm curious. Have you found any molds turning the swords up to the Manouchehr?
Sure.
Because one thing you had noticed, you said when you found so many swords in burial, about 50, the burials and tombs, you wonder at some point that assumption that maybe for the dead fight off demons, especially considering Zoroastrian, they just not saying anything about that. It's erroneous on that. They did it for the same reason as with civilizations up to the Viking period, so that no other soldier or warrior could use that weapon again.
Yes, exactly. A very good point you bring it up, because I also go into detail regarding Zoroastrian. By the way, yes, regarding Zoroastrian religion, one should please note that, as we all know, Zoroastrians do not or did not allow any burials or weapons or anything when you die. Because for sure, you know what happens to you back then. When you were Zoroastrian, you died. You know what happened to you. You were not buried. You were left to vultures to eat you. So it's like in Tibet, that's what they did. But very good point, sir, you bring it up. During Achaemenian period, they were Zoroastrians, but not 100% Zoroastrians. This is really, as long as our fellow Iranian Zoroastrians dislike this idea, but the fact and scientific fact shows it. Sure, Cyrus was Zoroastrian, but not only. He also believed in old Persian or Iranian Mitra and Mitraism. For example, I'll give you an example, which in my book I go into detail. In Zoroastrian, it is strictly forbidden to sacrifice any animals. You cannot do that. In Zoroastrian, they do not allow you to do that. This is a sin, to sacrifice any animal. So, okay, I was successful, let us go and get a bull and sacrifice it for my success. They did not allow that. But you see, if you read Achaemenian inscriptions, if you read Achaemenian, they say they sacrificed even horses in Takht Jamshid. So there was a mixture of old religions. Now, fortunately, I have to say, they buried these things to that. And now coming back to you, molds are very few you can find. Very good point. They destroyed the molds, many of them, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, many of them. They are, fortunately, there are some in the National Museum of Iran, and when they had an exhibition in Germany, they brought some, very small ones, but they were for arrowheads. Only for arrowheads, there were some molds. But you don't find these big, nice molds. Nothing, zero, only weapons. Sure.
Yes. What is the typical length of these swords? In particular, I'm also interested to see if you compare it to the Greeks.
Okay, yeah, sure. I don't want to give you any wrong dimensions. I will give it to you. Sure. Thank you very much. Yes. For the golden one, it's 41 centimeters. 41 centimeters.
I thought all of them were gold, so there were some other kinds of...
No. There are, for example, this one, excuse me, I was not specific. This is, the blade is iron. The rest is broken, unfortunately. The blade is iron. Not all of them are gold. Okay. The ones they used for combat, they were of iron. I'll show you one of, I don't have it here, unfortunately. But I can show it here to you. I have all the materials here.
So, but the gold one was 42 centimeters?
Yes, 42. And we have one from Persepolis, which was excavated. This is the longest one. This one should be much longer, actually. This is 65. The longest, I cannot